5 o'clock, could we call the meeting to order, please? And could we have a roll call, please, Cassandra?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Legislator Frost,
Here.
Legislator Calamus,
Here.
Legislator Mosier. Here. Legislator Leindecker,
Here.
Legislator Nortz,
Here.
Legislator Morahan. Here. Legislator Leviker,
Here.
Legislator Osborne,
Here.
Legislator Nellenbach,
Here.
and Legislator Dahlhoff.
Here. Would everyone please stand for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance? And Legislator Calmus will lead us in the invocation, please.
Heavenly Father, we seek your wisdom and your guidance on all our decisions, your strength to persevere, and your compassion to unite us all. Help us to listen beyond our differences, to find common ground in all that we shared in our purpose. Bless this county, its people, those who labor to make it a better place. May we rise above the challenges and build a future of unity, strength, and prosperity. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So tonight we have a couple of certificates of recognition for a couple of our local students. So these students are wrestlers. Wrestling is a sport that demands not only physical strength, but also mental toughness and discipline. These athletes have put in countless hours of training, pushed themselves to their limits, and represented their school and their community with pride. Their achievements are a testament to their determination and the guidance of their coaches, the support of their families, and the encouragement of their peers. So we'll start with Mr. Patrick Grimsey. He's a Lowell Academy student. Patrick compiled a 43-2 record this season and has a record of 148-14 overall. He has competed in the following competitions: 4-time Frontier League champion, 4-time Section Class D champion, 3-time Section 3 Division II champion. He's competed in the state tournament 4 times: 9th grade 2022, 8th place; 10th grade 2023, 5th place; 11th grade 2024, 3rd place; and 12th grade 2025 New York State Public High School Athletic Association champion at 145 pounds. Patrick is a true student athlete, as he is an accomplished student and a member of the National Honor Society. This honor not only speaks well of his academic success, but his impeccable character and leadership skills as well. Patrick is the rare blend of a fierce and relentless competitor while displaying sportsmanship and humility at the same time. Patrick is an exemplary young man and a role model for our younger students. So Patrick, if you would please come up and we'll take a picture. And so next we have Camden Dorchester, who is a Carthage student and resides in Lewis County. Camden compiled a 41-1 record this season and has a record of 128-26 over his career. He's competed in the following competitions: 3-time Frontier League champion, 2-time Section 3 Class A champion, 2-time Section 3 D1 champion, 5th place at the New York State D1 tournament in 2024. Throughout his career, he has won 15 individual tournaments. As a senior, he was the Section 3 D1 Wrestler of the Year at 285 pounds and a New York State D1 champion. Camden not only wrestles, but also was a 3-year starter for the Carthage football team and lacrosse team. He earned all-state honors as a junior and a senior. Camden is part of the National Honor Society and the JROTC program. He plans to major in education and continue his wrestling career in college. So if you would come up, Camden. So we want to wish both of you the very best in your future endeavors. Continue to work hard, lead by example, and inspire those who will follow in your footsteps. Thank you and congratulations. We have a proclamation for fair housing. Cassandra, would you read that, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Whereas the Fair Housing Act, enacted on April 11th, 1968, enshrined into federal law the goal of eliminating racial segregation and ending housing discrimination in the United States. And whereas the Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination in housing based on race, color, religion, national origin, sex, disability, and familial status, and commits recipients of federal funding to affirmatively further fair housing in their communities. And whereas New York State additionally prohibits discrimination based on age, marital status, military status, sexual orientation, gender identity, and lawful source of income. And whereas Lewis County is committed to the mission and intent of Congress to provide fair and equal housing opportunities for all. And whereas our social fabric, the economy, health, and environment are strengthened in diverse, inclusive communities. And whereas more than 50 years after the passage of the Fair Housing Act, discrimination persists and many communities remain segregated. And whereas acts of housing discrimination and barriers to equal housing opportunity are repugnant to a common sense of decency and fairness. Now, therefore, I, Lawrence L. Dahlhoff, Chairman of the Lewis County Board of Legislators, do hereby proclaim April 2025 as Fair Housing Month in Lewis County, New York. As an inclusive community committed to fair housing and to promoting appropriate activities by private and public entities to provide and advocate for equal housing opportunities for all residents and prospective residents of Lewis County.
So I believe we have Carol Dunbar here from Good Morning Realty. Carol, if you'd like to come forward and accept this, please.
Thank you.
If the March 4th board meeting minutes have been distributed, and if there are no amendments, they stand corrected. Privilege of the floor. Is there anyone here that would like to make any comments to this board? Seeing no interest, we'll move to the report of the Finance and Rules Committee per Rule 6. Cassandra, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance and Rules Committee has met, and they recommend to waive rules to act upon late resolutions.
Need a motion for that? Herb, do I have a second? Andrea, any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carries. Clerk of the Board reports, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The quarterly occupancy tax report was distributed to all legislators. The Lewis County Humane Society sent a letter thanking the board for the 2025 appropriation they received. Real Property submitted an improved application for refund of credit of real property taxes for tax map number 304.00-01-14.110 in the town of Turin. There were several adopted resolutions received from Orleans County. The first one is calling for the immediate rescinding and reversal of the New York State Governor's Executive Order Number 47.3 prohibiting counties from hiring terminated New York State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision individuals. Calling for repeal of New York State Humane Alternatives to Long-Term Solitary Confinement Act, which was also sent by Greene County. Encouraging Governor Kathy Hochul in New York State Legislature to increase the medication-assisted treatment budget allocation for county jails. Support for changes to New York's discovery laws proposed in Governor Hochul's fiscal year 2026 executive budget. Encouraging the state legislature and governor to enact technical edits to components of the Raise the Age law. Urging the governor and relevant state agencies to work with counties to ensure implementation of pending short-term rental legislation includes a requirement for platforms that facilitate short-term rentals, provide information to the state and counties in a uniform format that is easily transferable to local government data system needs. Calling on New York's congressional delegation to preserve the federal tax exemption for municipal bonds. Urging New York State to fund state-mandated agricultural district reviews, calling on the governor and legislature to reform e-waste recycling to provide relief to local governments and protect New York's natural resources, urging the governor and state lawmakers to add counties as eligible for funding under the New York State Touring Routes Program, calling for the state fiscal year 2025-26 enacted budget to include reforms for determining the capacity of a defendant to stand trial, urging the governor and legislature to become true partners in addressing homelessness by focusing on rent allowance and standard need that includes the restoration of 50-50 cost sharing for safety net programs, and provide actual brick and mortar solutions by making permanent housing the central focus. Urging Governor Hochul and the New York State Legislature to amend the proposed budget to restore funding for the FFFS program to the state fiscal year 2025 level and to increase state support for Code Blue by $20 million above the amount provided in the governor's proposed state fiscal year 2026 budget to ensure critical services can be provided in Code Blue shelters. Rensselaer County sent an adopted resolution titled Urging New York State Governor Kathy Hochul and New York State Legislature to repeal the HALT Act and restore order in New York State prisons. Oswego County sent an adopted resolution titled Directing the County Attorney to Explore Litigation Regarding Executive Order 47.3 of the Governor of the State of New York concerning county hiring of former employees of the New York State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision. The following departments and organizations have submitted their 2024 annual reports: Community Services, Public Health, and Social Services. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Standing committee reports. We'll start with Finance Rules Committee with Legislator Osborne, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to report that the audit firm of EFPR is on site and working on the annual audit. Each legislator has been given a Q1 progress report on the 2025 adopted committee goals. The clerk of the board and director of purchasing continue to make progress on the draft employee meal reimbursement policy, which should be ready to be presented at the Finance and Rules Committee meeting this month. And I have a motion. I move to authorize renewal agreements with NYMIR through Eastern Shore Insurance Agency for the annual insurance policy renewal at the total cost of $289,330.34, effective April 5th, 2025. I make that a motion.
Moved by Tom. Do I have a second? Vince, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carries.
And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Tom. Then we'll move to General Services Committee with Legislator Moorhan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Recreation, Forestry, and Parks reported that the first public survey for the winter recreation plan closes tonight at midnight. The link to the survey is on the county website. Online reservations can now be made for Singing Waters Campground, or you can call 315-376-5972 to reserve the pavilion. The 2025 off-highway vehicle maps will be delivered this week, but due to snow depths, some trails are not yet open. Trail openings will be posted on the Lewis County ATV Trail System Facebook page. And now I have 4 motions. I move to award the bid of hot asphalt mix based on project location in accordance with the tabulation of all bids prepared by the highway superintendent and placed on file with the clerk of the board for the period of April 1st, 2025 through March 31st, 2026.
Moved by Andrea. Do I have a second? Herb, discussion. All in favor? Anyone opposed?
I
Carries.
move to award the bid for pavement marking to Seneca Pavement Markings in accordance with their bid, which is placed on file with the clerk of the board for the period of April 1, 2025 through March 31, 2026.
Moved by Andrea, second by Tom Kalmus. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carries.
I move to award the bid for sand, crushed stone, gravel, and ready-mix concrete based on project location in accordance with the tabulation of all bids prepared by the highway superintendent and placed on file with the clerk of the board for the period of April 1st, 2025 through March 31, 2026.
Moved by Andrea, second by Jessica. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carries.
I move to award the bid for roadside vegetation control to D'Angelo Contracting Services in accordance with their bid, which is placed on file with the clerk of the board for the period of April 1st, 2025 through March 31st, 2026.
Moved by Andrea. Do I have a second? Tom Osborne. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have.
Thank you. And we will move to Health and Human Services Committee with Legislator Moser.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Office of the Aging reported that they have successfully completed a program audit conducted by the state. Lewis County Department of Social Services is joining with other organizations throughout New York to recognize April as National Child Abuse Prevention Month. Now more than ever, our families need us, organizations, government agencies, businesses, communities, neighborhoods, faith-based groups, and individuals to join together. When we support families, we become a stronger, more resilient community, and children grow up happy, healthy, and safe. DSS will be planting 101 pinwheels at the Human Services Building to represent the number of children that use the services of the Child Advocacy Center in 2024. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions for Jess? Thank you. And we'll move to the board's representative on the Hospital Board of Managers, Legislator Nortz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to start off by mentioning the Employee of the Year was Tina Bates. She's an RN up there, does excellent work. They also gave a year-end report that over 623 total staff, full-time, part-time, and casuals work at the hospital versus 589 of last year. There was 157 new hires in 2024. There was a loss of $552,000 versus a budgeted loss of $339.61 for the month of February. Year-to-date loss is $1,095,000 versus a budgeted loss of $898,000. Acute admissions were 84, 10 above budgets. Observations were 82 or 33 above budget. Total ER visits were 81 above budget. The outpatient visits were below budget by 397. Occupancy was below the budgeted target of 65.6%. Physician's office revenues was higher in ortho, but lower in family practice, general surgery, and women's health. Also at the meeting, it was announced that CEO Jerry Kerr will be retiring effective August 3rd, 2026, and a committee has been formed to look for a new CEO. Also, too, I want to take this time to personally thank some of the physicians and nurses up to the hospital. I was sick in January. I received excellent care, and I want to thank everybody involved with it. You did a heck of a job. That's all I have at this time.
Questions for Vince? Thank you. County manager report with Mr. Hunt.
Okay, a couple of things I'd like to draw your attention to. In your packet, there's a quarterly report from Park Strategies, our lobbying firm. We talked about earlier in the year, making sure that we had more reports coming from some of the entities that we contract with. There's also a monthly update from Naturally Lewis that will be occurring. A quarterly report on your legislative goals has been included in this quarter's packet so that we know where everybody stands on those goals. Thank Cassandra for keeping that organized and keeping that going forward. The couple things I wanted to bring to everyone's attention this month, we have been working on the insurance issue for ATV, UTV events. Larry and I had a meeting this week with NYMER, our insurance carrier, about the risk tolerance for promotions of those types of events and where this is going to shake out in New York State. It is a very sensitive topic right now. There's not any carriers willing to insure ATV events. So it's going to be a summer up on the hill where people are not going to be able to get insurance. So, and then the other thing that I'd like to bring to everybody's attention that kind of came up late last week is that Candy actually brought to our attention a situation up in, as you all know, in the town of Krogan, there's a very large scale solar project that is going through the ORES process to be sited up there, about 1,200 acres. Candy brought to our attention a document called the New York Power Authority January 28th, 2025 Strategic Plan. And what happened is last year's budget, they increased the authority and the responsibilities of the New York Power Authority, including owning projects. And that project in Krogan has been identified as a project that NYPA would like to own. The problem with NYPA owning solar and wind projects is it takes it off the tax rolls because it's a state agency. So there's a little end run going on. As you heard us report last month, very happily, that the court struck down New York's attempt to change the assessment on these green energy projects. It now looks like New York State's trying to do an end run and then just take ownership of them to take them off the tax rolls. So we've met with NYPA. We talked to the governor's office this week, and we've talked to NYSAC. All of the folks that we've talked to are very concerned about this. Today, NYPA actually took over their first solar project in Washington County, and we have not yet reached out to them to see. Their claim is just trust us. We'll try to make it whole. We don't trust them. We think this is a huge end run around, and quite honestly, around home rule, because they've taken away the local community's ability to site these projects through the ORES process, and now they're taking away the local community's ability to tax these projects through this NYPA process. So something very concerning that we're working on, trying to gather around right now. Tom, I know you've been involved in this.
Yeah, I'd like to, Lewis County, this is kind of a slap in the face for Lewis County and the towns in Lewis County. We got 19 hydro dams, 13 solar farms, one utility grade, which is the one that's going in Krogan, and 468 wind turbines. If we allow this to happen, it's going to take the pilot program right out of the picture. And it's basically unconstitutional. I mean, in my view, I would like to request that we get a formal resolution together with the Finance and Rules Committee and gather this information, get support from other counties and towns, and try to put a stop to it, like a hard stop.
Yeah, in my opinion, this would set a horrible precedent by the state. So, Lewis County's been a leader in green energy, and we've negotiated pilots and everything through the IDA. And this would just take leverage away from us. And the calculator was one thing, but this is a whole different animal, and it's going to take things off the tax roll. And it takes the benefits away from our communities that these the small benefits that these solar fields and green energy projects bring, and then send it to the city. So I think we need to draw a line in the sand and stand up against this.
Just one other comment, just to put it in perspective so everyone can understand it. The Maple Ridge wind, it is possible and conceivable from what we understand so far that this could also extend to NIPA buying all the wind projects that we have. So to put some dollars on that, the Maple Ridge Wind Farm, which is the biggest one that we have, it was the original one, pays the county, the towns, and the villages about $4 million a year in a pilot. So that gives you some concept of how big a numbers that we're talking about here that they could just pull from Lewis County's revenue stream, basically cite all these projects. We would get nothing out of it except providing cheap power to New York City and the downstate heavily populated areas. So sorry to interrupt you, Tim.
How would this affect, would this wipe out our two bucket policy for paying the bonds if they do something like that? Because isn't that what we're using that money for, the pilot money, to pay off the bonds that we currently are sitting on?
Yeah, potentially, yes, it could be very devastating to us. What they did is in the 2025 document, they listed specific projects this year that they want to partner, that they want to own or co-develop. The one that they called out in Lewis County is the Krogan project. It's not, and there's some confusion here as to which project it is. It actually looks like a project that's not even on our radar yet. But we asked yesterday, New York Power Authority, does that preclude AES from taking their project to them? And they said, no, it just means it would be next year. So every year they're going to create a list of projects they want and they'll take them. Right now, there's no wind projects that are in existence. It's all about trying to get new projects off the ground. And when you read the strategic plan, I mean, it's quite long, but it's very clear in there that one of the reasons NIPA wants to own them is because the local property taxes are a disincentive for the local developers to build them. So by them taking them and being able to reduce those taxes, it makes it more profitable for the developers. And they're talking about playing a game where the New York Power Authority would own 51% of the project, and the developer would still be able to own the project. So there's a lot going on here. We're just starting to gather all the facts. It doesn't sound good. It sounds like New York State, once again, trying to figure out how to make these green energy projects happen. I don't think the wind projects are immediate because they're not identified in that document. I think they're a year, 2 years down the road, and maybe they won't be at all. We don't know that. But right now, the only one we do know of is the Krogan project for this year.
Yeah, and they have energy storage in that, I believe, in that document.
They do. They have a lot on energy storage, and then which led us, there is a bill in the Senate and the Assembly moving energy storage to the ORES process, which we suspected they would take it out of local control, and also exempting all energy storage projects from having to pay sales tax in New York State, which would not help us. So there's a lot of moving parts with this green energy, and I think we really have to stay on it because it's gonna, it's, why would we even have it here? We don't want this stuff to begin with, and then to take away any ability for us to cite it, to do planning, zoning, or tax it is incredible. That is my report.
Any questions for Tim? Thank you, Tim. And we will move to the county treasurer report with Eric Verkler.
Thank you very much. I do not have any topic anywhere near as interesting as that. So you do have my written report, and I do not have anything really that I would highlight in that. So nothing verbal for me unless you have any questions.
Questions for Eric? Thank you, Eric. Report of the Finance and Rules Committee per Rule 7, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance and Rules Committee reports that they have examined the claims presented for payment in the total amount of $2,820,050.29 and recommend that they be audited and allowed for the amounts claimed.
Someone like to move that? Herb, do I have a second? Andrea, any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Carries. Consent resolutions. We're going to pull the individual resolutions number 64, number 82, number 68. Are there any others that anyone would like pulled? If not, would someone like to make a motion to pass the remainder as a consent resolution? Jessica, okay, second by Tom Kalmus. Any discussion? All in favor? And anyone opposed? That carries, the consent resolution packet carries. And we'll go back to the individual identified.
Resolution number 64 is auditing and allowing claims in the amount of $2,820,050.29.
Someone like to move it? Vince, second by Herb. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairperson, I have to abstain based on payments made to myself and upon vouchers I've approved.
Please note that for the record, and this is roll call.
Legislator Osborne,
Yes.
Legislator Frost,
Yes.
Legislator Nellenbach,
Yes.
Legislator Calamus,
Yes.
Legislator Leviker,
Yes.
Legislator Mosher has abstained, Legislator Morahan,
Yes.
Legislator Leindecker,
Yes.
Legislator Nortz,
Yes.
and Legislator Dahlhoff.
Yes.
Resolution number 68 is a resolution authorizing agreement with Titan Roofing Incorporated for roof replacement and abatement services on 6832 McAlpine Street, Lyons Falls, New York, under the Round 8 Restore New York Grant Award.
Someone like to move it? Jessica, second by Vince. Any discussion?
I see that it's a base bid plus. Who makes the decision if we need more framing in the roof?
The county through the consultant we have there,
Who's the consultant?
Taylor Freon from Denk.
I still would like to see that building sometime. Are they
Um,
done with the asbestos yet?
No, but they're supposed to be done by the 15th,
Okay,
so we'll let you know when it's cleared.
thanks.
Any other questions? All in favor? Anyone opposed?
I'm opposed.
Show Barry Leindecker opposed, please. And the resolution carries.
Resolution number 82 is a resolution authorizing increases to health insurance premiums for the plan year commencing June 1st, 2025.
Someone like to move it? Moved by Barry. Do I have a second? Jessica? Discussion.
I would like to make a motion that we go to executive session to discuss this further.
Moved by Tom. Someone like to second that? By Vince. And will go into executive session at this point.